5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Views in Paradox.
Cinema, discussion, thought-provoking, trivia, genre,
Drama,
romance, mystery,
action,
topical,
costume,
overrated, informative, tangent,
captivating,
amazing, thought-provoking,
anime,
views
in
paradox.
Welcome, any and all, to Views in Paradox, episode 19. We are doing Da 5 Bloods. I'm your host, Jon Olson, and today it is just myself and my lovely co-host, Rochalle Racine. Welcome,
Hey,
Rochalle.
Thank you. Happy to be here as always.
Yeah, so Chadwick Bosman tragically passed just recently of stage 4 colon cancer at the age of 43, which, just feels very sudden. It feels too soon.
It's always a good
yeah. I actually had to go a little personal. I had a colonoscopy and they cut out lymph nodes. So I'm, super young. So it can happen younger than you think.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s. So if you think you're young and invincible, maybe just have some checkups.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to get a checkup.
No shame in that.
Yeah.
It's also personal for me. My GI cancer runs in my family. I recently lost my dad to a type of cancer, and my grandmother had colon cancer. So this made me kind of go, all right, stop it, Ro. You need to go start getting checked.
Yeah. It's important. So, and Chadwick Bosman was, he was still on the rise, if anything.
Yeah.
He was just hitting his stride, and he's already in a lot of films, actually, fairly, a fairly young career still, right?
Yeah.
So, in light of that, we decided to do Da 5 Bloods, which is his last film to date. I think there is footage of him.
One more coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, there is. I forget the name offhand.
Me too.
But there's one more. But this is the most current that he's done. It released shortly before he died. And the timing of it is kind of crazy, as I think we'll get into. So, and I feel like already a million podcasts have kind of gone over, just the tragedy of the loss itself. But, I feel like he was such a versatile actor and just such a chameleon. I feel like, I feel like we don't know Chadwick very well. I saw him on an interview with the Breakfast Club, which I listen to occasionally. And, I was really surprised by his accent because he doesn't sound anything like he does in any of his films. And he sounds very American, which is after getting to know him as T'Challa with that very take a bland ass potato salad voice. I remember being very surprised at just kind of the person Chadwick Bosman. So should we just get into the film, or do you have any other kind of thoughts that you wanted to address before we dive into the film itself?
I mean, I guess I want to reiterate what you said, a talent that was taken far too soon. And one thing I want to address is that a lot of people are kind of in awe over the fact that he was still working throughout all this process. And trust me, yes, that's
It's crazy.
amazing. It's absolutely crazy. My like I said, my father recently passed, and he was the same. He worked until he literally couldn't anymore, and it was really uplifting, I guess, at the end of the day, even though it's this tragedy, to kind of see that emulated in somebody that is so widely revered. And I also just kind of wanted to say that I had a friend who actually worked as an extra on a production with him, with Chadwick, and Chadwick was my friend's name is Booker. Hi, Booker. And he said that Chadwick was the only principal actor that was like talking to the cast, the extra cast, and like being nice, and just kind of being like a human being. So I just kind of wanted to humanize him really quick. That
Yeah, he
like,
seems like he's kind of the ideal front man for a film because I've worked on a lot of sets. I've directed some projects, and every once in a while you meet an actor who understands like what being a lead can really be. And like there's the term that like somebody carries a film, and I feel like that's true on camera as well as on set. And he just seems like somebody who would have been like one of these great people to have on set who's just like, it's like your quarterback on the team who just like is kind of like always there for the people, for the cast and the crew.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
people like that
true
are
stuff.
great.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a shame, there's a whole White House full of people the universe could have taken instead, but hey, whatever. All right, let's get into it.
All right. So, The Five Bloods. This is our second Spike Lee film after Clockers. Um, and it's his most recent film. It came out this year, right?
June, yeah, June
June.
of
June
this year,
of
June
this
12th
year. Yes.
specifically.
It's very recently on Netflix, so not much in the way of box office. Um, Hold on, I'm going to pull up some cast here real
Oh,
quick. Yes?
while you're doing that, I'm surprised that Chadwick Boseman is so low on the billing. I had to like scroll to his name.
He's in a bunch of the movie, too.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Yeah, so obviously Chadwick Boseman, Delroy Lindo, who was also in Clockers. So another Delroy Lindo film. We have Clark Peters, who plays Otis. Norm Lewis, who plays Eddie. He's the full spoilers right away. Full spoilers for The Five Bloods because I'm about to spoil it pretty hard. Norm Lewis, who plays Eddie, the first guy to go out of the Bloods. And then Isaiah Whitlock Jr., who played Melvin, who is like who seemed like the most reasonable of the characters, the one who goes out on the grenade.
Yeah.
He was like, I was sad to see him go.
Me too.
So overall, I feel like I came out very mixed on this film. Like, there's a lot that I really like about it, and there's also some stuff that I feel like is strange, that like just kind of I didn't get how it fit in with how it all fit together, kind of.
Completely. Part of the reason I think that is, I did some research on the screenplay. It was originally written about white soldiers, and like the last minute, right before casting, they changed it to a black soldier story. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. Because, I mean, maybe they were like forcing that narrative into the original screenplay, and that's
Yeah.
why it felt that
Do
way.
you know anything about the original screenwriter, like the person who wrote the original?
I mean, his name is
Do we know if he was a veteran?
Danny Bilson. I didn't, I didn't even think to look that up.
Yeah.
Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo originally wrote it, and then Spike Lee got a hold of it, and then they added another writer, Kevin Wilmot, and then they changed it to what we know today, to what was released.
Yeah. I feel like you can definitely see Spike Lee's footprint on the script.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty obvious. I think one of the things I liked a lot, kind of coming off of, in honor of Chadwick, is just like this movie really reinforces sort of the power of film to preserve and to like memorialize things. Like right from the get-go, like Clockers had a similar start with a similar intro where it had all the photographs that were like the real world photographs. And this one has a lot of footage, and it has Martin Luther King in the opening. And I was just like, I was kind of in awe of how good the footage was. Like, it's like he's still here. When you watch it, it's like, it looks like it could be today, and it's like, and it just brings them so to the present. And then also, of course, with with Chadwick himself, and like so can we just kind of, I feel like the elephant in the room with this movie is that he's dead the whole movie. So this is like, what were you saying before the show? It's like
It's
trigger.
very, if you are a big Chadwick fan, this is extremely triggering. I usually when I watch movies, I go in, like, I don't even read the synopsis or anything. I just like go in. And I knew that this was going to be about the Vietnam War, so I assumed there was going to be deaths. And I knew just because the poster is like really obvious, it's like psychedelic and there's men in military outfits. So like obviously this is the Vietnam War. But I didn't realize that he was dead, and they were doing this to kind of avenge his death. And therefore I didn't realize that we were going to be like confronted with his character's dead remains.
Yeah. Yeah, like
And
you see him in flashback, you see him as a ghost, and you even see his bones.
yeah.
Like, it's really this movie is triggering uh in a number of ways, even beyond that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
definitely.
so it's all about veterans of the Vietnam War. I didn't know much about this movie going in, and if I had, I might have arranged to have gotten us a vet on the show. Uh, so for those that don't know, I work with a charity organization called the Patent Veterans Project that does film workshops for vets, and it's meant to be therapeutic. We've had some studies done on the benefits of it. And overall, it's actually very good. Film is very therapeutic activity. It's communal, so it's like team exercises, and then you get to like really put yourself out there. And this film read to me a lot like a veteran wrote it, like in a lot of respects. In the realness of how extreme PTSD can be. Like, I think at one point they're all arguing, and one of them says we all have PTSD, and I think this movie does a good job of showing the range
Yes, I
of,
agree.
like, because if Delroy Lindo's character, what's his character name? Sorry,
Going back up.
Paul. Yeah, Paul,
Oh,
of course. Uh, so like if Paul's was the only vet in this movie would be very problematic, especially the farther into the film we go, because he gets just like more and more and more unhinged. But because they all have been through this experience, and they all are at different levels of post-traumatic trauma, um, that I think that it gave like a good look at the kind of the spectrum that it can be. And it felt very real to me, having interacted with a lot of vets. A lot of those interactions felt very real. So
agreed. I actually have PTSD, not from military. I not military
yeah,
material here, but yeah. And so watching this, I felt like seen, you know, and I felt like they really understood like the variance that PTSD affects people and how it's just so different in everyone, just like any mental disability, right? So that was really refreshing, and that made me want to like this movie.
yeah. There are certain institutions I've heard that are trying to kind of quietly remove the D from PTSD, so that it's just like post-traumatic stress. Because to say it's a disorder, it's something that is so incredibly prolific in our society, that they're trying to kind of destigmatize it a bit and be like, there's a wide range of traumas out there, and some are incredibly severe, and a lot more people have very kind of more mild cases of it. Um, and you have like empathetic trauma too. If you know people who've been through trauma and they've shared that with you, it is like we have this way of taking it upon ourselves. So
Isn't that called secondary trauma?
yeah, you might be right. Secondary trauma.
Yeah. You taught me that, John.
Yeah, I know. So I can be forgetful. There's a lot in here, but it comes and goes. So so I think that was something that was like, good overall in the film. I think that was something that was very powerful. And the performances, I think, were very good. The acting in general, the very, very high mark. So if we're starting with like the complimentary aspects of the film, I think these are all things that can be said. Anything notable for acting wise for you that you want to maybe mention?
I really loved Delroy Lindo's character and acting. Well, let me rephrase. I hated it, but I loved it because I hated it so much. I thought his character was absolutely despicable, and although I completely understand why he was suffering from PTSD, and one thing, I think I'm going to kind of get off the acting on this, but one thing I found really interesting was that he was the one that had, I guess, the deepest wounds, for lack of a better way to explain it, and he was like the Trump supporter in that, and it really got me thinking, like, how much trauma is this percentage of America who, are Trump stans?
Yeah.
Like, how much are they dealing with? And is that why they're not able to see beyond themselves? And is that why they lack any type of ability to empathize, because they're just so fucked up?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the having him be a Trump supporter was a very Spike Lee move, and it was one that I felt conflicted about because of kind of what I was just talking about in like having that spectrum of trauma and kind of displaying trauma in a way that is humane. To make the craziest one the Trump supporter, like it is kind of a heavy statement to make. I'll just say.
It is for sure.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
a very heavy statement, and it like if you are already somebody who really dislikes the Red Hat, then like automatically the film is telling you to hate that character.
Yeah.
It's like hate this person. But he's also the most traumatized. So I'm like, I do want some sympathy for him. And we do get some of that at the very end of his story. But I feel like just from a like directorial standpoint, to do that is something that I'm mixed on. Like I get what he's going for with it, absolutely, and I agree to a certain extent, but when it comes to like depicting something very real, in the nature of his trauma, I feel like it's a little callous, maybe.
One thing I found interesting, I would agree with you. One thing I found kind of interesting was that, did you notice that they never said Trump's name the whole time?
Do they not?
Nope. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, they just all know.
Yeah,
I mean,
they just don't know.
Yeah.
We all know what that hat is, right?
Yeah. You know what? And like Jean Reno wears it at the end. I did not recognize Jean Reno in this film.
Really?
He's like the professional. Like he looks so different. He's not to be superficial. He's put on a little weight.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I didn't recognize him. And when I saw his name in the credits, I was like, what?
That's funny.
That's who that was. So acting wise, going back to the acting, the only one I wasn't crazy about was probably the son. Um, I felt like script wise, character wise, I was kind of fine with him, but acting wise, like I don't know, he had a couple of good moments, but overall, I just kind of found him hard to like. I didn't know
Did
what he was supposed to be, you know, like I couldn't pin down his character.
you were confused? I found him very underwhelming.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be very important.
Yeah. Yeah, like he becomes the fifth blood,
Yeah,
right? Like he takes Chadwick's or Storm and Norman's place, you know? And there is some parallels there, like Storm and Norman's like the strong leader who is like there to lift up the black community, etc., etc. And whereas he's more of like a modern version of that, I felt, you know, like understanding like how do I explain
Well,
this?
or like it seemed like it was his arc to be that person, right?
Yeah,
Like to become, you know, he had to like kind of make these moral decisions. And I found it kind of disappointing. Um, the other thing about this movie is just kind of getting away from the acting a little bit, is just that it keeps going, right?
2.5 hours.
I felt like this movie was at the last scene
So
like
many times.
5 different times
Me
in
too.
this movie. I was like, this movie could just end. And after a while, I was like, it could end, but it's not going to.
Yeah, it's not going to. And then when it finally ended, I was like, okay, didn't
Yeah,
expect it to end there, I guess.
yeah. Because like it just it like the movie is tonally very strange, right? Because it starts as this movie where you're like, what is this like weird happy reunion movie that I'm watching, right? And then we start to get into kind of the trauma side of things, and then it just goes like ape shit, like
Out of nowhere.
out of nowhere. It's just
Yeah.
like it's just boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
and like some literal booms also. So yeah, a guy gets
He
he
steps on a
steps on a
landmine.
landmine. Yeah, one of the Bloods goes out in the middle of a heated argument over what they should do with the gold. He gets exploded by a landmine, and then the son steps on one, and that scene's great.
That
By
is
the
a
way,
great scene. Yeah.
they have to rescue the son from the landmine, and they come across uh these like landmine
Conveniently
removal, very convenient.
that they had already introduced in the story prior to this.
Yeah,
And
the only other people in Vietnam. um
they just happened to be in the area.
yeah. And like what I immediately hated about that interaction was that I like that the son didn't explain that he'd met these people
Yeah.
and that they were just good people. Like he never opens his mouth to do that ever, and he has a lot of opportunities. Like even after they pull him off the bomb, because then, yeah, because then Paul takes everybody hostage. He gets a hold of our Chekhov's gun that was placed in the film earlier, and just like the worst, the one you don't want with the gun, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Always gets it, right?
because like there was
Or
nothing wrong with their plan. And I really didn't understand like Jean Reno's character. I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong. Jean Reno,
it's
Jean
okay.
Jean
It's okay.
Reno.
We're American. We can say it how we
Yeah,
want.
Jean. It's definitely Jean. Um, it's the last name. Yeah, Jean Reno. I'll say in my American way. I didn't understand why he was like bad at the end, because like he was just gonna be this guy who like brokered their gold, and then all of a sudden he was like with these like ex Viet Cong descendants or something.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was just so bizarre to me. Like it just
It
kept escalating in these ways where I was like, their plan seems so simple at the beginning, right?
Yeah, it totally. You know, to go off of that, his character, what I didn't understand about that was like, okay, so at first when the ex Viet Cong descendants come once they like get out of the jungle and they have the gold and they're like, give us our gold, it's our gold. Like, why are you sitting here telling these people that this is the gold belongs to Vietnam, but then you're like backing this French like con artist? Like,
I know,
I
right?
did not understand that at all. I was like,
Didn't
so which
see it
is
coming.
Is it Vietnam's money or is it the French dude's money? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here, you know?
Well, basically, the French dude could do his job for either party. So, like, either, the Viet Cong guys can get the gold and he can do it. He can still do his magic for them, probably at a cheaper rate, right?
Yeah.
Or he can do it for the white people.
You know, now that we
I'm sorry,
say this
not the
out
white
loud,
people.
now
The
that I
American
wonder
people.
if that's like a what's the word? You know, like the white man's always in charge. Like he always holds the power. Kind of nod.
Yeah, I mean having him be placed where he is, he's, kind of a a stand-in for the pulling of the strings.
Yeah.
So, and it was interesting, and they were white, but they were European, but like, and we got a who surprised me in this movie was the one lamb guy from Tanya. Did you see Tanya?
No. Yes.
No?
What are we talking about? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Tanya, he was like the crazy friend who plots the whole thing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's one of the just like the really kind of placid side characters in this
I
film.
didn't even notice. How funny.
Yeah, he kind of just like blends in, but I noticed him. He's like,
Is it Sapo?
no, it's not Seppo. It's the other guy who survives.
Simon.
Simon, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
that was
That
kind
was
of
a good
fun.
movie too, by the way. Okay.
But yeah, the way this movie escalates, and there's some kind of obvious things that happen that I feel like could have played a little differently, or I feel like a little bit more in line with things. Like they immediately forget about their friend Storm and Norman after they get his body. And like we don't ever see the body again until it's coming off of the plane. Like we
Yeah.
see the casket.
So do they just like put the bones in with the gold? Like that confused me.
I don't know, but like it seemed like they had a perfect cover. Like they were there to pick up a body and like
Which
get
they
some
just
gold also.
happened
Yeah.
upon. That whole situation pissed me off. The son goes to take a shit and he just happens upon some gold.
Well,
Like,
he was just that it was scattered all over, right?
but still, like he's like digging his hole to shit and he's like it's like a half an inch and then boom, gold. And I was like, you fucking kidding me right now? Like,
Well, most of it was close to the surface, fairly, right?
yeah. But still, I mean, come on, man. Like, and they weren't even gonna go down there. They only went down there because he went to take a shit. That
They would have got there eventually.
fine. And then that was another thing. There's no way they could have like stuffed their backpacks full of gold that much and been able to like comfortably
That's
walk.
what I mean. Like they show them carrying the gold, like two people at a time, occasionally, but they never show you with the remains. Like I don't know where they put the remains while they were like in that temple and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, what's his name? Paul runs off into the jungle by himself, which why they didn't tie his ass up, I'll never understand. Like when in the scene when they're like, get the rope, I was like, oh, they're going to tie up Paul for sure. And then he's just like walking with him in the next scene. I was like, no, you got to tie him up. He is a liability. Right. Like it's for his own good. He'll get his gold, whatever. Like just tie him up for now and like try to keep him under control. Cause yeah, that guy was, but then of course they keep getting into these like war scenario gunfight scenes. And it just kept coming.
And everybody on the other side was really a really bad shot. It kind of reminded me of stormtroopers.
Yeah. We did get some wounds. We get a leg wound and an arm wound. So we get a couple. But most people die by explosion in this movie. Yeah, right? It's like landmines, grenade, And then Paul. Okay, let's talk about Paul's death
Okay.
and Paul's ending. So, which was another place where it happened, and then we still had like half an hour to go. But Paul goes off in the wilderness, and has numerous monologues to camera, and he gets bit by a snake, and then
And he sucks it out, which, by the way, do not do. That does not do anything, and just don't ever do that. Don't do that. Okay, thank
what do
you.
you do if you get bit by a snake?
You actually just try to slow your heart
You
rate.
have to
and,
like clamp it, right? You have to just like because you want to because
that's
that's the
just
only thing they do if you wait for anti-venom is they have these like clamps that like cut off circulation.
but it could cause a lot more damage to that one specific area. So you just need to
Versus
relax,
death.
honestly. But you need to relax because once they let go of it, you're
Venom
fucked.
is Venom is no joke though.
It's true. But
Like
do not
I
don't suck that shit out. That
Right.
does nothing. Okay.
Rochelle's TED Talk.
my TED Talk. I go on them once in a while.
That's fair. I saw this video. It was like a demonstration of Venom, and it was a glass of blood, and they add Venom to it, and it has this crazy chemical reaction where it like expands and like gushes out over the over the cup, and it's like yeah. So
Mhm.
Venom's scary. It's no joke.
Venom's very scary. It's very scary.
But yeah, he gets bit by a snake. He keeps like avoiding death. He falls and like almost dies and loses the gold, right? Um,
I
and
did love the monologue. I just wanted to say that.
what's that? You like the monologues?
I like the monologues.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, they were interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and he is very in it while it's happening. But like he kept drawing out his death, and I felt like he was doing this thing where he's like making the audience kill him over and over because he keeps almost dying or like winding up in this situation where it seems like he's about to get shot or like about to die horrifically and then like not doing it. And after a while, I was like, I want him to live. Like I wanted him to get through it. I like didn't want him to be sacrificed for this, for the plot.
Me too. I just wanted him to have the character arc.
Yeah, I wanted him to find the redemption, and like I liked the reveal that he had accidentally killed Storm and Norman. And that scene got to me. I teared up.
Me too. Me too.
It's like, Chadwick Boseman comes to him as the ghost of his friend, and it's really well written, and I think a really nice performance on both parties. And he says that like, I forgive you. It was an accident. And I was like, at that point, I really wanted Paul to make it. And I felt like when he died that I was like, his, in Spike Lee's vision of the film, I feel like his forgiveness is like it's okay to go now.
Yeah. Maybe
But-
that's why he was escaping death so many times.
But I wanted him to make good with his son. Like I wanted a better end for him. I wanted him to come back around and like help save everybody at the temple. Even if it was cheesy, I feel like I would have felt better about it. Like, and his death is really horrific too. Although I feel like the CG is not very good in that scene. It's like it's very obviously CGI, and there's just so much blood. So that was kind of my personal take on his death. It's just kind of that I wish it had gone a different way.
Agreed. I really wanted his redemption for sure. I'm wondering maybe like his son is supposed to be what's left of the good in him,
Yeah.
and that's what that represents.
Yeah, and we get the letter read in the like he kept telegraphing the death. We get the letter that he'd given his friend right at the beginning. Like he came there like, very paranoid, ready to die.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had that guilt, that you know, that deep guilt, ever having never told anybody, like nobody else knew.
Yeah. Which, I mean, of course, explains the severity of his mental challenges, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely. He's
that's
like
a heavy
got
burden to
yeah,
carry.
just standard survivor's guilt is bad enough.
Yeah.
And he's got this burden of a dark secret that it was me. Uh, and even though it was friendly fire, I kind of felt like it was something like that after we got the line that Stormer Norman was the best soldier that ever lived. I was like, he's got to be killed by like something. I thought either like shrapnel, like a mine, because they kept doing the mines, or by like an accident. I was like, there's no way that he dies in combat with the enemy after kind of the way he was set up.
Completely, yeah. No way.
Yeah.
Man.
Um. So yeah, so I came away feeling mixed, as I think I've expressed. Anything we haven't covered? Music was really good for the
It was
most
a
part.
lot of Marvin Gaye, no?
A lot of Marvin Gaye.
A lot of Marvin Gaye. Oh, fun fact that I really loved was that the all the characters from the Five Bloods. Oh my God, come on, notes. Hold on, my notes are being rude. Come on. Okay, the characters from the Five Bloods, Paul, Melvin, Otis, Eddie, and David, are individual names of the five members of the Temptations.
They are the Temptations. That's
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, I thought that was fun. Very, very fun.
Yeah, there was a couple of times in the movie where I felt like the juxtaposition of the music didn't quite work, where it was like too soft for what was happening.
I agree.
Um,
But I did love the music. Like, I mean, I love Motown and that type of music. So I was like all about the soundtrack, but I completely agree with you that it didn't always fit. Like a lot of this, to be honest with you, felt forced. I don't know. Like a lot of the storylines, like I didn't understand why all of a sudden he had this daughter. Like, to be honest, the second he knocked on that woman's door, I was like, he has an illegitimate daughter. Like,
oh yeah.
you know, but like
Oh
I
yeah, we're
didn't
getting
understand
this
the
storyline.
purpose. Yeah, I didn't understand the purpose that she served there, or that detail was there. Like, why was that even a
Yeah,
thing?
plot wise, she was there as the way in which they'd found the broker, like the money changer.
Yeah. I mean,
So
he
yeah,
had
plot
to
wise
know where
was
she
it,
lived. It was just, I don't know.
and
Poor.
he's the one that survives, right, and gets to like
Yeah.
meet his daughter and like kind of have the happy ending
Mm-hmm.
for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, like they go to bring one guy home and like three of them die.
Yeah. Yeah. And two get wounded, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, um, let's see what else. My computer is tripping today.
Oh,
Huh?
I liked the choice to keep them their ages in the flashback.
Really?
The
Okay. I do now. When I was watching it, I was so mad. I was like, beard dye. Like, cover the guy's beard. Like, why do they look old? But I was so fucking mad about it. But then I realized it's because Storm and Norman died young, and they wanted to, like, immortalize that. So I get it now, and now I like the choice. But
yeah,
while
this is all from it's such a good point of view because this is not a story about the past. It's about that time. It's like about now
right.
and like remembering the past. And then they always remember themselves, but they think of themselves as they are now. I liked that.
Right.
I liked it a lot better than maybe say attempting to de-age them. Like they have the one photoshopped picture, right? Um, it's like the picture of them with Chad at the end with like the weird moving background.
Yeah.
Um, that was
Actually, fun little fact from that. I mean, it is photoshopped, but
yeah.
the one of the characters. Come on, my computer's acting like such a fool. Delroy Lindo's character played not his character. The actor played a Vietnam War soldier in More American Graffiti, which is a 1979 film. So they used that photo.
That's smart.
Yeah, I thought
That's
that was
clever.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I remember there was a picture of young him and I was wondering, I was like, did he serve?
Yeah, me too. That's why I looked it up. I was like, I gotta check this out because it just didn't quite look fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so there was some weird effects things in this film. Like effects weren't the best. However, cinematography, I'd say there was just some gorgeous cinematography. Like
Yes.
the the footage they have of Vietnam is great. And then
Well,
the interior shots were kind of strange in that there were a lot of like wides that tried to fit all 4 or 5 people in a frame.
real quick, I just have to correct. Anything that's shot in a jungle was actually shot in Thailand.
Thailand. Well, okay, shots of Thailand are
Yeah.
gorgeous.
But I was wondering why. I wonder because, like, I mean, obviously landmines are still a thing there. So I was wondering, is that why they shoot in Thailand, or is it because it's just like cheaper, or it
There,
suits
there might
better?
be more of a film industry in Thailand.
Okay, yeah, I know a lot of things that are shot in Vietnam in the jungle are actually shot in Thailand.
I don't know a whole hell of a lot about Vietnam. I do like how they start in modern Vietnam, and it's just like kind of another place you go, you know?
Yeah, totally. It
um,
made me want to go. I hit up my friend who's Vietnamese, and I was like, "So we're going, and I'm getting a beer from one of the boat vendors in the floating market." Okay,
yeah.
like they did a beautiful job there. There
That guy
was
with the chicken, though. Oh
the
my.
guy. Fuck that guy. Oh my god, he scared me. Um, I do not fault Paul for the way he reacted.
No,
My favorite
me neither.
shot was when they were like in the city square and they were like with the first night that they arrived and they're in the city square all meeting up. That
Yeah.
was so beautiful to me. Actually, I mean, I think it shows my need to go, but it kind of looked like Main Street Disneyland to me.
Of course, that's where you go.
So inviting and beautiful, and I was like, that looks like Main Street. But yeah, it was beautiful. I think that's kind of what drew me in, kept me in, I should say, is the cinematography because I found this, like I said earlier, really disjointed. And it wasn't until like at the end of the movie and then sitting on it that I was like, okay, I think I liked it.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, there were moments where I was like, this movie's gorgeous right
Yeah.
now. And like it's like beautiful cinematography of these like jungle vistas set to like Marvin Gaye music. It's wonderful. So
Mm-hmm.
I had moments like that, but I do think tonally all over the place. One of the Spike Lee films that I've seen, it's the least tonally consistent. Like it really takes a turn and it just continues to like swerve down this like more and more
It's all over the
absurd
place.
extreme track. Uh it was really all over the place.
Yeah.
But it had some good stuff in it. I do think there was some interest there. Um and there was some weird editing choices also. I noticed several times jump cuts. He did it on like hugs where people would hug and it would cut to another angle and they would repeat the motion. So he did these kinds of jump cuts. I noticed like 4 of them. There might have been more. So that was kind of odd. There was just like some strange choices. I did kind of like the documentary style photos, like how he just cuts to the photo. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that too. And I
Yeah.
liked at the end when they added the Black Lives Matter collage. Was it a collage? It was like
Uh,
closing credits, and then they had like a photo of the Black Lives Matter organization and its members,
mm.
which I think was kind of added like last minute just because of everything going on right now. But yeah, I thought that was a nice little cherry on top.
Did they donate $1 million to them? So
Maybe.
that could then be real footage.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
2 million. It was 2 million.
it's 2 million. So how much did they make? This is a rare heist movie where they do not tell you the amount
Let's see.
because they
Well,
start
okay.
talking that shares are 1 million,
So
but
Storm and Norman's family got 2 million, right?
so 47,000 a bar was how much they said,
Okay, let's
right?
see. Yeah.
So that's a little less than 100,000 per 2 bars. So it takes 20 bars to get to 1 million. they couldn't have had more than like 5 or 6 million in gold. Like, there's no way they could carry more than that, right?
No, no way.
Like, those bars are heavy as, and they were
Mhm.
like old dudes. Like the one guy having a backpack full of gold and stomping off into the jungle. That backpack is so incredibly heavy. Like, there's no way he could have made it that far, or that a tree branch would hold it. Quite frankly.
Yeah, I know. I was right there with you. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
More likely, the gold would have rolled onto him and like pinned him down and like been the end of him.
Exactly.
That would have been some irony.
Exactly. Ivey. I wonder if a lot of that just really has to do with the fact that they changed it so last minute, just that there was, I'm all about like having to accept these things that we can't accept. Like in
Sure, yeah.
Train to Busan, when I'm like, okay, I'll accept the fact that the cell phones work fine. Like, but this, I just couldn't. I just could not accept, like, you're not just briskly walking through the Vietnamese jungle. With,
Yeah.
like,
Gold is always misportrayed in film. Like, do you ever see the third Die Hard movie where
No.
they have 47 dump trucks full of gold in the movie, and like the amount that they're supposed to actually be stealing is like way more. like like gold, I feel like for how heavy it is, like the value, like 47,000 a bar. I mean, that's a lot, but to carry it around, good God, you're not going to carry around millions of dollars. It's just,
And remains. That was, yeah.
where were the remains?
It was a lot to ask of me, I have to say. And
Yeah, good moments throughout, but just, I wasn't crazy about the ending in general. Like, it was just a little too happy, smiley. Right?
What?
Like after everybody had died and all that.
Oh,
Like,
I see. Like in
like the wrap up. Yeah, like in
Okay.
juxtaposition to everything that had happened.
It felt rushed, I'll say.
Yeah, like everybody just kind of comes away. I don't really feel like I know what happened with the son, with Paul's son. Like, he kind of just goes back to teaching, right?
Yeah, he goes back to teaching. Oh God, what was it? He goes back to teaching.
Doesn't end up with the lamb girl, I guess.
Yeah, doesn't. Not surprised.
Yeah, she was trouble.
Teaching, and yeah, they don't really. Yeah, what did happen to him?
Yeah, they show him at his desk.
Yeah,
so he's
I mean, I guess he got some catharsis from that letter, which he keeps at his work desk and reads.
And he's just like the richest teacher in school now, right? It's like
basically
he'll sponsor all the teams and the plays.
Assuming because a large amount was, so they gave $1 million to the Lamb organization, right? And then $2 million of it went to Storm and Norman's family. So then that leaves maybe $2 million to be split between the other two, right? So yeah, that's not going to get you far in America, honey. Even if he's working in Georgia, it's not going to get you far. So,
well, I mean, $1 million, that's not too shabby.
It's nothing to sneeze at, but I mean,
nothing to sneeze at.
That doesn't even buy you shit here in California. You know what I'm saying? So like,
but like, if you're smart with how you spend it, it's a good little safety net. You can retire with that.
Especially teacher. Good point.
Right, you don't have to worry really about your shitty school salary anymore. It's like, especially if you were already making ends meet. Like, I'm not entirely sure he was, because of how antsy he was to get on this on this trip.
Yeah.
But
well, assuming he's a teacher in Georgia, I'm gonna go with he wasn't very financially stable.
Yeah. But now he's fine. So now he can teach.
I'm only saying Georgia just because he went to Morehouse, so I just assume he stayed there, which I thought was an interesting choice, just because Spike Lee went to Atlanta Clark University, which is, I don't know if anyone listening has ever toured the HBCUs in Atlanta, but they're like on the same plot of land, so you can like stand at Morehouse and see Atlanta Clark. So I thought that was an interesting choice that he chose Morehouse as the HBCU. Yeah,
there's probably a story there.
Probably. Beautiful campus is to tour, by the way. If you ever get a chance, please do so. It was very awesome when I did. But yeah, I thought that was neat. And then let's see. One thing I wanted to kind of talk about was there's a couple little facts thrown in that I found very interesting. So one of the facts was thrown by the radio host whose name escapes me, but it was played by the
Reveal the
actress
musical?
Veronica Nago. I'm sorry, I did not pronounce that correctly.
The
She
G's are
said,
silent, you know.
okay, okay. She said that Black people make up 11% of the country, but 32% of the military. And that is still very true, although now it's almost 14% of the country and a little bit over 35% for the military. And I don't want to get too much into this because John and I could probably talk about this forever, and it really has nothing to do with the film. But I just kind of reinforced the fact that Black people just don't have a lot to step on in order to get out of poverty, you know, and like the military is that promise to everybody, not just Black people, to everybody. Like you see disproportionately large amount of poor people and working class go into the military just to get fed. It was really interesting to hear that. And then on top of course, knowing that in every war we've ever had, Black people tend to bear the brunt of the, what's the responsibility, I guess, of like this combat, right? I mean, am I wrong here?
No, I don't think so.
No.
You know, the general infantry and the troops on the ground are not going to be your well-to-do rich kids. Like, if anything, those are officers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you go to like a special school and you get rank. So yeah, that's always going to be true. Like they, you know, we see it in all the aspects of our society, and I feel like we see it pointed out over and over again, and we do what we can to upend it. But the way our country's been running, yeah, like the army, like the way they recruit is like, here's stability in your life, and if you come from a place where you have not much sense of stability, that's a really nice offer.
Isn't it?
But there's a really good chance that they'll take your life for it.
Yeah.
Or that they will send you
they take your
back
precious freedom.
your freedom. I mean, you literally belong to the government when you're in the military, and when you come out, you bring a lot with you. So, and the price is very high.
Yep.
I'm with you. It's very easy. I mean, Spike Lee films are designed to spiral into politics.
Yes.
And so I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind going off into the political territory a little bit because it wants you to. It's asking you to.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
And then, okay, there was one more. So the, what was the character's name? David, the son? David?
Yeah.
I'm having problems pulling up my notes, so I'm just kind of pulling from memory now. But Paul's son,
David, yes.
His mother died during childbirth, and they didn't touch on that outside of just that one, like, fact for the character. But Black women in America are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women, still today in 2020. And it's like, it's a public health emergency. It's a human rights emergency, seriously. And I kind of wish that they would have touched on that more, I guess.
Yeah, my wife has been studying public health, and you know, she shows me studies all the time like that. That like basically across the board, Black people are they're just inflicted with more of the woes of our society, disproportionately so.
Yes.
And you know, and it's across everything you can think of, you know. You look at quality of a facility, you know, quality of resource. It's all lower, and it's something that really could use some addressing.
Completely.
It sucks, and you know, it sucks we don't have a government that feels like addressing any of the problems that we actually have. Instead, they just feel like making more problems for some unknown reason, for reasons unknown, for, you know, self perpetuation, self gain.
It's just a shame. I mean, it shows that they are not monitored as carefully as white women when they are in labor. And when they are presented with symptoms, they are often dismissed. And I actually have a friend in medical school right now. And they are like, it's like first year med school, and they had the teacher do a survey of just kind of like average knowledge that these people are carrying upon coming in, and 40% of the students said that Black people do not feel pain like white people in 2020. Can you fucking believe that?
That's
Like, and these people are going to medical school, and that just absolutely disgusted me. So on top of that, now we also have the aspect that, as we see largely, Black women are just largely undervalued in our society. And I, again, was just kind of disheartened that they didn't touch on that more, although at the same time, it probably would have just created more of a disjointed message
This
than they had.
movie does not pass the Bechdel test. I will say that. So it's not a good feminist anthem of a film.
No.
It's a very man heavy, bro love, man love heavy
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one scene in which two women talk to each other, but they talk about what's his face. They just talk about the man. So
Yeah.
and
it's the illegitimate love child and the former prostitute, right? So like that's not very empowering to women at all.
Okay.
And then the other woman that's in that, well, there's two other women. There's the radio host, which we barely see.
Oh, right.
But even then, that's kind of like a typical.
She's great.
Yeah,
I liked those cutaways.
Yeah, me too. But even then, she's kind of typically like a man, sitting there smoking cigarettes and kind of tough. And then obviously the French woman.
She's neutral, right? She's fully like, in terms of gender display, she's neutral.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then the girl, the French woman, clearly has the masculine energies going on there, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there as love interest, slash foil, like gets kidnapped. So yeah, not great on the feminist front, this film. Yeah, it's a little crude in its sensitivities, even where it does occasionally succeed. So yeah, this is a flawed movie. I did see Black Klansman, which was the one he did just before this, and that movie was phenomenal, I think. And like very tonally consistent, and I think Clockers was a lot more solid in this film.
Yeah,
also
for sure.
Just going back to our show,
I definitely think it's worth a watch. Just, I mean, if you are a huge Chadwick Boseman fan, give it a bit before you turn this on. Sure, because I was a fucking mess. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah,
Chadwick Boseman, like, yeah, like the biopic guy. Before he was even Black Panther, he did what? Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, which we almost watched, and then what's the big one? Jackie Robinson, right?
Yeah, Jackie Robinson. Yeah.
Which I still haven't seen 42. I do want to see that one. I don't know that it's streaming anywhere though. This one was conveniently new and here, and interesting, topical.
Yeah.
But
we almost did Get On Up, but then this was on Netflix, so we chose this.
Yeah.
Also, really quick, we don't really have to discuss this, but I just got a huge kick out of this. I don't know if anyone listening or if you, John, are a big David Simon fan, the writer of The Wire. No. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna. You're gonna hurt. I still haven't seen The Wire.
Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, I'm a huge David Simon fan. If you're listening, David Simon, please hire me. But like I love him. But Isaiah Whitlock's character, Melvin, it famously says shit in like pretty much every episode of The Wire he's in. So when he did that in this movie, I was like, yes! It tickled me. It was a cute little laugh I needed.
Nice. Yeah, I'm missing a lot of references in pop culture for not having seen The Wire.
Oh yeah,
because it's very popular. People like
this. This film was riddled with pop culture references. I gave up after a couple, and I'm only bringing up Isaiah Whitlock Jr.'s reference just because I'm a huge fan of David Simon and his production. So yeah, but like, could be a fun drinking game for you guys listening, going through and drinking every time there's a pop culture reference, but you might get pretty hammered.
Yeah. All right. Do we know next week's film?
Yes,
I'm not looking at my. I
Portrait
should
of a
always
Lady
check.
with Nova.
Oh, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. You're getting me to watch it.
Yeah, I'm making him.
I was
We had-
trying real hard to avoid it.
He was, but we had 3 people in a row request it, so I was like, John, we're doing it. But we are doing a special episode this week for the release of the live action Mulan, and we will be watching both the animated and the live action and doing like a comparison discussion with my bestie and Disney nerd and historian Carlos. So that'll be fun.
That should be fun.
Mhm.
I'm still not happy what they're charging for Mulan.
I know. Well, I'm paying for it.
We'll
You're on
see.
the show.
There's no Mushu, I hear.
No,
So we'll
that
see how it is.
controversy up the butt. I'm sure we
Yeah.
can have a whole 10-minute segment on that.
Yeah, we'll see what other controversies happen with this film.
Yeah.
It should be interesting. I do love Mulan. It is a good one.
Yeah, it's a good
So we'll see how they do it without musical numbers and all that. That should be fun. Yeah, look for that soon. And
Yeah.
we'll probably just number that, I guess.
Yeah, we'll probably just number. Yeah.
That should be
I'm making John do this.
Yeah. And for those of you on YouTube, as of when this is posted, we are working to get more of the audio episodes edited and up onto iTunes. I'm getting to know Audition. I'm starting to get the hang of it, getting kind of used to all the tools. There's a crazy thing called spectrum mode where like people's words, like they start to take on symbols and stuff. Like you can see them in their signatures. It's really crazy. So you can see, I can like look at it and see every time I and just like
Wow.
cancel those out. So that's kind of fun. So look for those. I'll probably cut this out of the audio. So
See, that's why you got to watch the YouTube, so you get all this nonsense.
you get uncut. We're gonna have to call the YouTube one like VIP uncut because the audio will be edited. Although I think the editing's probably nicer on the ears.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Probably.
But not nicer on the eyes. But not nicer on the eyes.
You miss these beautiful faces.
Yeah. All right. Until next week, I am Jon Olson. You can find me at John and Paradox on Instagram. Follow me there. Follow the show at Views and Paradox, and find us on Facebook. Like our page on Facebook. Join the Movie Club Collective Facebook group, which also has VIP in the title, so you can hopefully find it searching either way. Where can the people find you, Rochelle?
On Instagram at Rochalle Racine, or Twitter at Rochalle. Yeah.
And you got some new headshots recently, right?
I did. They're amazing.
I like them a lot. Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed. You saw like 3%. I got so many looks done, and I got so overwhelmed I had to hire somebody to pull them because I'm like.
I was looking at them with my wife Brianna, and we both really like the one of you in the suit.
That's my procedural one.
Yeah, you know what? I gotta say, you look like you could be a prosecutor or various level of assistance, or even a cop, even the kind of detective look. I like the serious look.
I hope that gets me on SVO.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Cause good walk on. You could be on like Brooklyn Nine-Nine with that look.
Yeah. Let's hope. Here's hoping. Once I get them pulled better, I'll send you guys. There's so many. There's like 1,000. I'm overwhelmed.
Oh no.
Yeah,
and that's good, though.
That's like with them taking out the bad ones. So I have like 1,000 good shots, and I'm like, what do I do with this?
They're good, and they look like you. A lot of headshots, they look like a totally different person. Yeah. So I think that's one of the best things I can say about them is like they look good, but they look like you. When you walk in, they'll be like, yes, this is.
Thank you. That was my biggest thing was I needed them to look like me. So,
Yeah, your last ones were like fine, but I was like, who is this?
That was the thing. Just to tip everyone, do not wear mineral sunscreen when you are getting photos taken. It will ruin your pictures.
Awesome.
That's it.
So that's all we have for today. Until next time, everybody, watch more movies.
Happy viewing, guys.